The year 2000 brought a film that felt less like a traditional thriller and more like a fever dream curated by a mad artist. The Cell took the concept of a psychological thriller, literally, dragging the audience into the physical geography of a serial killer's mind. The story introduces us to Catherine Dean, a compassionate psychologist played by Jennifer Lopez. She works at a cutting-edge research facility using an experimental neurological link, a cell, that allows her to project her consciousness into the minds of comatose patients. Her goal is to guide them back to reality, but the process is taxing, blurring the lines between her own identity and the dreams of others. While Catherine deals with the ethereal, FBI agent Peter Novak is dealing with a ticking clock in the real world. He has finally captured Carl Starger, a calculated sociopath who kidnaps women and places them in a cell of his own, a glass chamber that slowly fills with water via an automatic timer. The problem? Upon his arrest, Starger suffers a violent seizure and falls into a deep, irreversible coma. The location of his latest victim, who is currently drowning in a hidden basement, is locked inside his unconscious mind. Desperate, Novak enlists Catherine to do the unthinkable, enter the mind of a monster. When Catherine plugs in, the film transforms into a visual masterpiece of high-fashion horror. Starger's mind is a fractured kingdom inspired by surrealist art and macabre imagery. The child Carl is a terrified, abused young boy representing the innocence Starger lost. King Starger is a demonic, godlike figure with a cape that fills entire rooms, representing the powerful, sadistic ego he created to survive his trauma. Inside this realm, the laws of physics are gone. Catherine finds herself walking through scenes of living art, human bodies sliced like laboratory slides, and fields of strange, distorted beauty. If Catherine stays too long, she will succumb to neurological schism. Starger's psyche begins to hunt her. He isn't just a host. He is a predator who understands the rules of his own dream world. In a terrifying reversal, Starger begins to dominate Catherine, forcing her to see herself as his plaything. It takes Agent Novak entering the link himself to snap her out of the trance, but even then, the mission isn't over. Catherine realizes that to save the victim, she cannot simply fight the king. She must appeal to the child. In the climax, Catherine makes a radical choice. Instead of letting Starger invade her space, she pulls his consciousness into her mind, a place of peace and control. There, in a lush, golden garden, she confronts the boy Starger was. She realizes that the only way to stop the king and save the girl in the real world is to allow the innocent version of Carl to finally die. In a scene of tragic mercy, she ends his suffering within the dream, which leads to Starger's physical death in the real world. The victim is found just as the water reaches her lips, but the cost to Catherine is permanent. She has seen the darkest architecture the human brain can build. The film ends with her back at the facility, no longer just a scientist, but a guardian of the thin, terrifying line between the world we see and the worlds we carry inside us. What makes the story work, and what the critics often overlook when they're distracted by the wild costumes, is the emotional tug-of-war. Inside this mental wasteland, Catherine encounters two versions of the killer. There's Starger the King, a terrifying, demonic manifestation of his adult sadism. But there is also young Carl, a terrified, abused little boy who just wants to be saved. Catherine's job shifts from a simple information hunt to a battle for her own sanity. Because the deeper you go into someone else's nightmare, the easier it is to forget how to wake up. The peak scene is the descent into Starger's subconscious, Catherine wandering through a labyrinth of tortured imagery, chained victims, and religious iconography. It's the film's heartbeat, a surreal confrontation between healer and monster. The visuals are so intense, they linger long after the credits roll. Jennifer Lopez delivers a restrained, empathetic performance. Vince Vaughn, as FBI agent Novak, brings urgency to the film. However, the real showstopper is Vincent D'Onofrio as Starger. His performance is terrifying, magnetic, and grotesque, a killer whose mind is as twisted as his crimes. He elevates the film from a thriller to a psychological art piece. The Cell is not for the faint-hearted. It is style over substance, yes, but what style? It is a film that dares to visualize the subconscious, turning trauma into art and horror into spectacle. Some call it pretentious, others call it visionary. Either way, it is unforgettable. Watch it not for the plot, but for the experience, a descent into the darkest corners of the human mind.